the SEC once again weighing in on crypto?
Certainly in a big way, Caroline, here. You have the SEC's complaint here calling into question Genesis and Gemini in the same complaint. Now, why is that interesting? We have, again, to your point that you were making here, these two counterparties that had previously been feuding over how the situation has been handled since halting withdrawals. Now, what does the complaint say? As you said, they are looking at the unregistered offer and sale of securities to U.S. retail investors. You also have the SEC talking about the marketing from both parties here, both parties. And I want to be very specific. It is Genesis Global Capital, the subsidiary of that large Genesis trading desk here, that is a part of the defendants being named in this complaint. But both of them marketing these assets to investors being called into question by the SEC. Now, remember, this comes just days after that big open letter you saw from Cameron Winklevoss after a number of correspondences between DCG, Digital Currency Group, that big entity run by Barry Silbert, as well as the Winklevoss twins, Gemini, for this Gemini Earn product. And it's days after you have Cameron Winklevoss alleging here private lies and accounting fraud. And also in the same week that you have Barry Silbert, the head of Digital Currency Group, also reaching out to investors with a very large multi-page question and answer here that addresses how Digital Currency Group uses the proceeds of loans borrowed from Genesis Capital, the same asset here in question that is under the SEC review. Now, there will be a lot of questions both from investors as well as regulators on where the money went, what kind of money was lost, how you get it back. But at the end of the day, as I said before, these two are being named in the complaint together after days and days and days, months really sparring. And so how they handle this when they're both listed together as under the complaint of the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Yeah, this is an interesting development in part because Bloomberg reported last week, according to sources, that federal prosecutors were looking into Barry Silbert and the Digital Currency Group. So now we have this triangle, right? Winklevoss, Silbert, regulators. As you said, the complaint is joint between them. Tie that all together. What is the relationship as it stands now between Barry Silbert and the Winklevoss brothers, twins?
As it stands, remember, they have been both kind of at war here. And I think what's worth kind of pointing out here is the difference between how Genesis frames this issue versus the Winklevoss twins. We reported in late November, actually, that when Genesis was out kind of looking for money, we had reported they had reached out to a number of big investors to try to really stave off some of these issues. As they did that, they revealed all of these loans that existed between Genesis as well as other Digital Currency Group experts here or entities here. Now, remember, those entities, investors of Digital Currency Group did have clarity into how the entity worked. So the big reveal here then becomes now, regulators asking questions about where the money went at the end of the day, but also the allegations being made by Gemini and Gemini Earns products on behalf of those more than 300,000 customers. Remember, when you look at Digital Currency Group's response to this publicly, they said this is a way for Gemini to be deflecting blame. But again, the way that this is culminating now, they both are under this complaint for the SEC.
Let's weave all of this narrative together, Sonali, because a lot of the reasons that the funds have been trapped in Genesis is because of the ongoing fallout across crypto that in many parts wasn't just started by the collapse of FTX. It came much prior to that, actually some of them related to lending products themselves. But just talk to us about what we've heard from Sam Bankman-Fried today about the FTX fallout and really how all of this is one big similar collapse that is just having so much of a contagion effect.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we have heard, of course, Sam Bankman-Fried before the indictment came out, him have his media tour. But then since he's been on house arrest, we've seen him tweet here and there. And now we have a Substack coming out as well in which he's detailing kind of his defense here on this idea that he didn't steal funds, he didn't stash them anywhere. The name of this Substack was FTX Pre-Mortem Overview. He also links the issue to how he was treated by rivals. He's been complaining about Binance and the handling of assets for a while here now. At the end of the day, what happened in the middle of last year, Luna, 3 Arrows, people lost a lot of money and it spiraled from there, and it's kind of as simple as that.